So hi, I'm Kevin Proto here with Locals Supporting Locals for our segment of the Heartbeat of the Okanagan, and we're down here at the Lakeside Hotel for a press conference that's being put on by the SSPS, the Save Skaha Park Society, and they're going to be giving an update to what's taking place. The date is August 19th, and it's close to the 1 year anniversary, so we're getting an update, so they're going to be starting the press conference.
This is, of course, of equal or not to make light of what you're doing.
Okay, let's get things underway, and I'll refer over to...
We would like to, first of all, thank the media for coming out today to our press conference. The members of the public are welcome to be here, but we do ask that you just act as an observer. Questions later are going to be from the media to us. So before we turn this over to Jake for our statement, and by the way, media, we will have a statement available for you as a takeaway after the press conference is over. I'd like to take a minute and introduce our committee. To my far right is Dwayne Morton, and he is responsible for the financial, he's the treasurer actually, and our legal advisor. And then Carolee Donahue is our treasurer, secretary. I'm sorry, secretary. I'm already done.
That's not an emotion.
Here we are.
That's a promotion.
And to my far left is Lenora Robson. Lenora is our volunteer coordinator. And then Benoit Robert is our IT support person. And Carolee is our legal advisor. And my name is Lisa Martin, and I'm media and communications. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Jake for our opening statement.
Okay, I'm going to open my presentation on behalf of the board here with a quote that I'd like you to take with you, because this is where we've evolved from, I guess, in respect to this issue. It's created, I think, the biggest response of any issue in this community, certainly over the 50 years I've lived here. My quote is as follows on behalf of the board here. We cannot let this council destroy what has taken many past councils over 100 years as a city to create. I want you to be clear with that, because this city has been creating and buying properties down in Skaha Park to expand that park over 100 years. And what we've seen with this council is the opportunity or their attempts to destroy it. For that, I'm going to continue with the statement here, and I'm going to refer to certain members of the board here just to qualify their position and as such. And I hate wearing glasses, but I'm sorry, the age has caught up with me. We have passed the 1 year anniversary, which I think is crucial in this situation. We've passed the 1 year anniversary of two of the biggest rallies in the city's history that were held in front of City Hall to protest the agreement to lease 20% of Skaha Park to Trio Marine Group for a commercial water slide. It's worth remembering that the mayor signed the lease the very day that 700 residents were demonstrating against it virtually within earshot of his office. What was the mayor's response to the hundreds who rallied? Statement, quote, "Opinions are based on misinformation. Some fight change every step of the way. The current model of public engagement needs enhancement," end of quote. And that was in the Penticton Herald, August 17th, 2015. Soon after came the quotations Mark Skaha Park quotations event in September, when 1,000 people demonstrated in the park, standing shoulder to shoulder and forming a human chain around the entire area that would be lost to the water slide. Petitions have been circulated that oppose the water slide with over 8,400 signatures. Save Skaha Park Society membership has reached over 4,650 members, and soon it will be 1 year since SSPS launched its civil claim on September the 25th, 2015. It has been a long and frustrating year during which SSPS held off on pursuing its lawsuit as the COP, the City of Penticton and Trio, tried to negotiate a resolution. The hope was that they would find a resolution that would meet our mandate, And with that reference to mandate, I'm going to refer to Carol Lee. But anyway, they would find a resolution that would meet our mandate without having to go to court and thereby save Skaha Park Society supporters and taxpayers, which we all are, potentially over 100,000 in legal fees for SSPS and the city.
That's each, not.
Each. And I'm going to refer now over to go through our mandate. Caroline,
Our
please, if
mandate,
you would.
yes, thanks, Jake. Our mandate, as filed with the BC Society Act. The name of the society is Safe Skaha Park Society. The purposes of the society are twofold. The first is to advocate for the preservation of Penticton Skaha Park as an open, natural park, freely accessible to all. Number two, to oppose, including the right to seek remedy in court, commercial development within the park that is, in our opinion, not consistent with or ancillary to this role without the approval of the electors. That is what's filed with the BC Societies Act. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you. And again, I'm going to refer over to the gentleman on the end there just to talk to you about our financial position and in regards to why and how the society was formed. Please.
Basically, what we've done is we've done quite a bit of, we've done quite a substantial amount of contributions from people, and it goes into our legal fund and is used for various purposes, primarily for the legal costs. We have been advised by our lawyer, basically. We've spent about $17,000 to date. We've been advised that the next phase could be in up to, possibly in excess of $30,000, that being the discovery phase. And if it goes to court, we've been advised it will be a 5-day trial, and that in itself could run in the neighborhood of $50,000 to $60,000. And that is just this society. We have significant pledges for our next phase. We're in good shape for the current phase coming up, but we have significant pledges that we can draw on in terms of the going to court. We hope, and we tried desperately, that the city and Trio would come to some kind of a resolution so that it would never reach the courts. That was our primary goal, but we knew that if they could not, and we made it very clear to the city that our mandate was to follow through with the courts if they did not and could not reach a resolution, which we did as soon as we found out that the talks were going nowhere. Any questions?
After? Thank you. Safe Skaha Park Society needs to clarify a statement made by the mayor, made on July 29th, 2016, in the Penticton Herald. Quote, with recent gatherings of all parties at one table, we are optimistic that a resolution with Safe Skaha Park Society can be found outside of the courtroom. We feel that would be the best outcome for all involved. End of quotations. This inference was that Safe Skaha Park Society was in negotiations with Trio is categorically false. We have requested the mayor to retract his statement in writing, but we have not received any response. By invitation, Safe Skaha Park Society did meet with Tom Hedquist of Trio on June 17th, and this is an important statement that I was to make on behalf of the board here, because we attempted, as you know, to resolve this issue outside the court. By invitation, SSPS did meet with Tom Hedquist of Trio on June 17th, when we were told that Trio was considering an alternate development that would be contained entirely within the existing marina footprint. On this premise, SSPS accepted the invitation to view the new plan. At that meeting, Mr. Hedquist presented a rough plan that did not involve any intrusion into Skaha Park and kept to the already developed area of the existing marina. Furthermore, at that same meeting, Mr. Hedquist stated, quotations, Mr. Hedquist, the water slides are not going to be built, quotations. There were no negotiations. Safe Skaha Park Society does not know the mayor's motivation nor reasons why he would state that we have been negotiating with Trio, but we do know that his statement as reported in the Herald is false. SSPS' position was that the rough plan met our mandate, which was read earlier, but we made it very clear with Mr. Hedquist that any approval for the hybrid plan must come from Penticton residents through public consultation. By the way, at that meeting, he also suggested that possibly they would put a inflatable slide out into the lake. That was his statement at that meeting. Same as what is on Okanagan. In mid-July, SSPS placed a paid advertisement in both local papers updating members and supporters of its actions for the past several months, and stated that while they had been patient with the city and Trio to negotiate a resolution to the waterslide debacle, they would not wait forever. What was the mayor's response? Quotations from the mayor. We just have to be patient. We are hoping there is a bit more direction soon. Pardon me, let me start this again. Quotations from the mayor. We just have to be patient. We are hoping there is a bit more direction soon. Hopefully before the summer is over. End of quotations. Penticton Western News, July 15, 2016. A bit more for direction from whom is our question. Should the mayor be given direction? Question from this board. As soon as it became evident some weeks later that a negotiated resolution was not forthcoming, Save Skaha Park Society instructed its lawyer to reactivate the civil claim and send a letter to the City of Penticton's legal counsel requesting a response to the civil claim without further delay. At the same time, a second lawsuit against the city was launched by a private citizen. I think that gentleman's in this room right now. What was the mayor's response? Quotations. We are still very optimistic that we can get to some sort of resolution without going to court. To get all players to the starting line. And the quotations, Penticton Western News, July 29, 2016. Well, it is now August 19th and we don't see any starting line. We've heard nothing in regards to that statement from the mayor to this date. Save Skaha Park Society politely and respectfully requests the mayor to do the right thing, and that is to put his money where his mouth is. Or as Save Skaha Park Society says, put taxpayers' money where his mouth is and bring an end to this dispute. On August the 4th, the board requested a response to our civil claim by the end of August. At that time is fast approaching. If there is no public declaration that the waterslide project is terminated, Save Skaha Park Society will vigorously proceed with its campaign to increase its membership and to raise funds through public rallies and to hold various events throughout the city. Is this the kind of publicity the mayor wishes to see continued? Message to the mayor from this board, mayor and our members that we represent. Mayor Jacobite, please get the water slides off the table. And then perhaps our divided community, which you caused by not holding a referendum in 2015, have thereby negated democracy, and democracy will heal. We now will take questions and answers, and please open your questions to any member of this board. We would certainly respect that because we are all here to do just that. There are several statements there that you may want to understand, to continue further or to ask questions on. I'll open it up now, please. We do have this printed statement, by the way, for you.
Thank you. I'll start, Jake. I believe sometime in September, the first payment from Trio Marina is due to the city. It was delayed 1 year by the mayor, I believe, and council gave it a 1 year extension. So a theory is that if Trio is unable to come up with a payment, that the issue will be done. So why not wait till September to see if that's the end once and for all?
Well, that's an interesting question, but we don't know what Trio's position is financially. Do we wait to hear that? Maybe they're going to raise that fund to present, but anyway, we don't. What we're asking for is clear and simple that this council created this council should resolve it. There is not a person that I have spoken to personally in this community that supports the destruction and the demolition of a park that, as I stated in my opening here, has taken 100 years to create to where it's at today. I personally, as a mayor, signed several checks purchasing homes there and taking those homes down in order to expand that park. I find this whole process pretty offensive as I've served as a mayor for many years, that we created a park that's now being taken away from the use of the residents.
What is your answer to the criticism of the, that is made by pro-water slide people, that this is, quote, old people in the community and seniors trying to deny young people and young families of fun? Do you agree that it's essentially a senior-driven initiative?
I'll put that to a member of the board.
A couple of points. First off, there were over 5,100, or 5,200, I believe it was 5,216 residents of Penticton, and they're not all seniors that signed a petition. That's more votes than Jack Whitecott. That's more people signing it than Jack Whitecott. The other thing is that whenever we hold a rally or have different events, we have people of all ages supporting us, even some kids. The other thing is that we're not opposed to water slide, just don't put it there. Put it somewhere else, plain and simple. And as I say, we're approaching, we're over 4,650 members, and again, they're not all over 90 years old.
I think we should also refer to that question by, I can't remember the name of the magazine. Caroline, maybe you do? A magazine recently said that Skaha Park was one of the best in the country.
McLean's magazine, one of the top 20.
I mean, does that infer that this park is just for seniors? It's not. I mean, we can visit that park and certainly see children enjoying what the park has to offer. That is just open space and enjoyment. They don't need to go down there and spend $40 to ride a water slide. That's not the purpose of that park.
I see. And I will ask a question that I posed to Mr. and Ms. Martin some time ago. If the city of Penticton, if the council agreed that this will go to referendum, would you drop the legal action?
Oh, absolutely.
Even though
I speak personally. I shouldn't speak
even though you
for the
could
board.
potentially lose,
We
even though you could,
I think-
there is a possibility that.
I think we'd have to stand by, and I speak for
James,
the board
can I-
here. I think I'd speak for the board here, that our initial protest,
Mhm.
the two protests that occurred, which were not organized by this, but just a reaction from the community at large to this issue, was to state publicly, and I certainly presented that publicly at those rallies, that a referendum is the answer. That's
You'd be
democracy.
satisfied
Go
with
ahead,
that?
Caroline.
As well, James, the thing is, we fought very hard to have a referendum, right? And a lot of the people here also wanted a referendum. The figures show they wanted a referendum. Had we had a referendum and lost, we'd have said, that's democracy.
Yes.
We didn't think we'd lose, we hoped that we wouldn't lose, but we said if we lose and the water slide people and it goes ahead, that's democracy we've lost, we would have accepted that, but
Yes.
here we are, a
Very-
year later.
What I'd like to add is basically, the referendum was presented to council, they totally ignored it, okay? So they had an opportunity, we would have given it to them, they turned it down. The other thing is that our approach has always been a democratic one in terms of saying that, what we're trying to do basically is fulfill the will of the people as we understand it. The other thing is, if it went to a referendum and the water slide won, we'd absolutely have to accept that decision because that is the will of the people. And that's what we're trying to put forward as well.
So Jake, do you feel that the city handled the correctional facility adequately in 2011, 2012, sometime around then?
In what respect, James?
Well, they went opinion poll.
Yes. Well, that was the course of action they did, but that was outside of the community, basically, is where they located, right? Are you referring to the?
Yeah, but there was a
the interest of
possibility of
some-
it being located in Penticton.
Yeah.
If you remember, there was a bit of an uproar on both,
Yeah.
both pros and cons.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a process that was followed in democracy that showed that the opinions stated very clearly, I think, as I recollect it. They didn't want it in the city limits. And I think the council accepted that. Yeah. Please.
I think that the prison was actually opposed by 67% of Penticton residents. That's called a supermajority. So it's a fairly high number.
Okay. Any further questions? No?
Jake, are you considering a run at council or mayor in 2017?
None at this
2018, I guess.
Not at this present time. A lot of people approach me because they're very disillusioned with this council. They're very upset with its approach to what the issues they've dealt with or tried to deal with. And I feel strongly that what is happening here is not the direction that this committee should be going in. But anyway, I appreciate and respect people that ask me that question as well as yourself. But at this present time, I'm quite happy with my retirement.
Are you confident that if this does indeed go to a 5-day trial, are you confident that you will be able to secure the funding required to fight this?
Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I did see,
Absolutely.
that's a consensus of the board here that, yes, the money is out there if we need it.
Do you have a timeline of when that might happen? Do you have like a timeline kind of scheduled out?
Well, if I were to just give you a statement to that, I think if we were to officially file that with our lawyer, the funds would come in, the money would come in. We've already had people, and I can't speak for the rest of the board here, but I'm sure they could comment to that. We've already had people wanting to donate to make that court case.
We've had some very substantial offers if it goes to trial. We have no intention of starting to raise money unless it does go to trial. And even if we do so, it would be on a pledge basis and an assurance of refund or return on a prorated basis if there were any left over, or totally if it did not go to trial.
And in terms of a timeline, your question, I think, was, we are expecting to hear that from the city in a day, and our next phase would be discovery phase. And we've been told by our lawyer that if we file for a 5-day court date, it would likely be at the end of 2017.
Or possibly later.
I'm sorry, I have 2 more questions. I talk a lot. Hypothetically, if this was settled tomorrow, you have money in the bank, X number of dollars. What will you do with that money?
Okay. What we would do basically is we would put it to our members. We're going to have an annual general meeting coming up in the November timeframe. We would put it to our members and then put it to a vote at that meeting in terms of what we should do with the remaining funds. We are working on a financial statement at this point because, of course, we have to file with the government as well, with Revenue Canada because of your society. We will present the financial statement at the annual general meeting, and well, of course, being a society, it's a requirement that we have.
What would some possibilities be?
A couple of the possibilities we've discussed. One of them was, of course, to the hospital fund for the tower. You know, another was potentially to discuss with the city some potential improvements to the park itself in terms of things that we could do there. But again, we would want to put it to our members and then put it to a vote in terms of what they felt was the best approach.
Okay, the event that's being held tonight at 7 o'clock, that is not to save Skaha Park?
No,
Not at all.
no. I believe the organizer, or the gentleman that's going to organize that is here, but no, that's separate and apart from our
Do
organization.
you intend on attending?
I have no interest to attend. You know, their motivation, their interest is basically the same as ours in some respect.
Sure.
That's their right to do that.
The one
Say
that-
So are you
Skaha Park is-
supportive of that?
Well, the one difference you got to understand, our mandate, as we read out, is basically to preserve the
Yeah.
green space. Their mandate, as I understand it, what they're talking about is much more extensive. I was a project manager for 35 years, worked in IT for 40, and if I learned anything is that you better not have scope creep. If you haven't, you have to have a certain amount of scope and a well-defined mandate if you want to succeed at something.
As well, are you done? As well, our lawyer did say that the 2 civil claims can't come together because one would muddy the waters of the other. That's not to say either or is good or bad. It's not to say that. It's to say that his advice was, we don't join them because you could muddy one or the other.
Jake, you were very critical of the city council in your address. Do you support Mrs. Slump's suggestion of British Columbians should be allowed the power of recall?
I think that's going to be eventually happening. I think that general, you know, and I'm speaking here from what I've read in the paper and your paper too, is that there's a general consensus that that must happen eventually in the future. I mean, if you take a 4-year term, which we've now got, I think there is obvious interest by the general populace that they should have the right to do that. And I speak just commonly from what I've read on the subject.
When you think, sorry.
You know, criminal offenses, of course, they're natural, they're
Sure.
they're done. But Offenses to the general populace, I think, are unacceptable as an elected official.
A very interesting point. Federal government has an opposition, provincial government has an opposition, city government has an opposition, except groups like ours or others. That's unacceptable.
Thank you.
No, so you referred to the court case, if things aren't decided, that you would do something by the end of 2016 or
Start.
Yes.
Now, isn't there a timeline though for this, since you applied last year for the case? Isn't there a timeline where like sometime in September here, where you would have to reapply again, or would you have to ask for an extension, or how does that work?
It's an active
We've
thing.
instructed our legal counsel basically to request the response from the city.
And we believe that's going to happen by the end of August, so,
25th, I
very
think, is
soon.
the
So
date.
there should be some news very soon.
And
Yeah,
again, the only reason we held out was in the hope that it could be resolved between the city and Trio and avoid probably close to $250,000 based on our lawyer's estimate of legal costs
I want
for both parties.
to go back again, James, to what you asked, and that's regarding the trio if they don't come up with the money. So if Trio were not to come up with the money, that does not prevent this council from looking at another investor. We want to stop that completely, close it, Skaha Park stays as is, as it was intended to be, as it took 100 years to create and structure that park. I think we're done with the questions. I don't know if
This
there's any more.
gentleman had a question.
I'm sorry, you have a question?
Did you have?
Nope.
Okay.
I thought I saw your lips move, okay.
Do you feel like it's a bit of a standoff right now between the city trio and yourselves, all kind of waiting for someone to make a move?
We can't make a move. We're,
No,
we're,
it's in the council's,
it's in their hands.
the ball's in their court.
We've made the move, requesting a response to go forward with the
The
lawsuit.
ball's in
That's
their
all we
court
can
right
do.
now, and I want to close, I guess, here today, because I think we've just covered everything. Oh, you have a question? I'm sorry, I don't want to.
Well, because with the application, they have 21 days to respond, so you can force them, and if they don't respond, then the
We
judge,
Oh, yes.
The next step,
The
yes.
lawyer
Just
takes
have
over
to have to
that.
respond.
Absolutely.
well, that's it, so they would find a judgment in favor of the plaintiff or
Yeah.
for you guys, so how come you haven't pursued that yet then? Or will you pursue that before the deadline of the court case?
We're taking it a step at a time. We are very confident that we're going to be getting that response within very few days.
Because I know, like through some of the letters, a lot of people seem to have been frustrated, members, citizens.
Not as much as us.
Yeah, well, yeah. I know, and I've been there with you guys right from the
Yeah.
beginning there, and,
I appreciate it.
you know, that, because this could have all been settled, like some were saying, like 9 months ago, almost a year ago, and yet it's gone this long, and you,
Even
It's-
if we had at that point, in terms of going through the discovery phase, it would have taken upwards to 3 months, and then basically another upwards of a year to get a court date. So it would still be in the future to some degree.
And I think, sorry Lisa, and as well, I think always in our minds was the fact that we'd have to go out to the public and ourselves to raise all this money, and whilst there was hope that Trio and the city would come to some kind of negotiated resolution, why would we suddenly, in the middle of all of this, go to the, raise our civil claim instead of waiting? Waiting to us was the prudent thing to do. Now we can't wait anymore. We will have an answer, we hope, by the end of August, and we'll have to take it from there.
well, that's why if they had, within that 21 days, if they didn't
Yes.
respond, whatever you were requesting in your lawsuit, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but the judge would have to vote in favor of yourself because they didn't submit.
Not
an-
necessarily.
That was
It's
not
not
our
a-
legal
no,
advice.
No,
That's
it's
not.
not at all.
Okay.
No, that is not.
Okay, not sure, just
Okay.
what, yeah, I'm good.
And again, please remember is that our primary objective was to avoid going to courts and the cost of the citizens of this city and our supporters.
Yep.
That was our.
Yeah, I was just referring because I saw a lot of the letters and concerns, so I just wanted to.
Oh, we're aware of it.
Couple of things here. I just want to state something that I overlooked myself, and that is I am chairing this meeting on behalf of Gary Denton. Gary Denton is being later to this and the chair of this board, and I am only sitting in his absence. He's away enjoying some time with his family. I want to make a couple of clear statements here. One, the night of the protest, when a lot of residents took themselves out of their homes and went down to Main Street to protest this development, the mayor signed the agreement. That mayor did not have to sign that agreement. That mayor could have postponed that and stated clearly to the public, we will look into this and possibly take it, and he should have. And I'm speaking as a former mayor. With that kind of protest, which I say again, and I've said many times, is the biggest protest I've ever seen in this city. Biggest. Never anything surpassed that by the residents. Had that protest been in my jurisdiction as a mayor, I would have taken that issue back to council and said, referendum. Referendum. We do not sign an agreement until we get the consensus and the support, or the non-support, of the residents that are out there in that street. This mayor made a big error. To follow that up, this annoyed me no end, and I'm sure it equally the board and our supporters. July the 29th, 2016, in the Western News, and I made this statement earlier. The mayor, we are still very optimistic that we can get some sort of resolution without going to court to get all the players to the starting line. He had no reason to say that, because he has not done zero to get the players at the starting line. Zero. He's made no effort to do that. Again, I'm going to close by stating this quote, and we're going to shut it down there. And I do appreciate the media for being here. Statement supported by the board, and I'm sure many members out there in the community. We cannot let this council destroy what has taken many past councils over 100 years as a city to create. Skaha Park. Period. Thank you very much for being here today. I know you've got other commitments. I thank the board members here for speaking their views and opinions regarding this, and certainly reporting their responsibilities and their involvement.
Statements are available